I'm happy to introduce Jessica Stonefield, and she is from the Missoula County Health Department, and she is going to explain a little bit more about what her job is and how that relates to foster care, and then she also really wants to take time for questions, so just make sure you're schooling those. So welcome, Jessica.
Thank you. Thanks. I was really excited to get the call last week.
Yeah.
I really was, though.
I just have to interject a minute. Our other speaker was at the CAN conference, and then couldn't make it. So anyway, she was a blessing. Yeah.
And so, how many of you guys went to the CAN? I heard a couple people saying they went to the CAN conference. I didn't get to go this year, but hoping to go in the future. And then, how many of you guys went to the most recent training for foster parents? I thought I recognized a couple of people. And then, have I been to your house? Okay. Okay. I thought there was a couple of people. I was like, I've been here. I think I've been to your house. So I bet I don't remember anything about what we discussed. Sorry, but at the same time, that might be a good thing. I don't know. Sometimes that is anonymous. Being anonymous is can be a little bit more comforting. But anyways, so I work for Missoula County Health Department in the home visiting child, in the child home visiting program, and it's maternal child health. And so, in broad terms, we see the community, and anyone in Missoula County can request our services. But we do have two nurses who work closely with the foster care system, which most of you are familiar probably with Judith Burr or Jen Kirscher, and they are the ones who will get the referral from Grant Creek Family Practice Clinical, the foster care clinic, to facilitate you guys as the foster parents in gathering immunization records and following up on any healthcare needs that your kiddos might have. And then from there, I get the nutrition referrals from foster care. So I work with the community and then as a whole, and then probably on a given day, 20 to 35% or so of the kiddos, the referrals that I get are from foster care. So I'm a registered dietitian / licensed nutritionist, same thing in the state of Montana. I've been working at the health department for just going on 3 years right now. Before that, I was in fitness and like the fitness world before that. So I'm loving this work. It's very rewarding, and y'all have really touched my heart with what you do, to the point that my husband and I went through the foster care training a few weeks back. So if I look familiar, I recognize a couple of you from there. And we are, as a family, deciding when and how to move forward with that. So the health department, I'm going to plug all of our services really in a really fast manner, just so that you know that they're available to you. And what is available to you, and how many of you guys are is there anybody in here that isn't in Missoula County? Okay. And just know that you can still call, and you can use our services by coming to the health department or by calling, and we can if it's something we can help you with over the phone, we can do that too. So we try to help anybody that requests of us to help them, but in Missoula County is where we can do the home visiting. So real quickly, we have, I brought a Missoula Public Health brochure in its entirety, and it covers things like WIC, education, pregnancy services that we have, infant and early childhood services, those are our services, and then the outpatient clinic, of course, you can come and get your immunizations and flu shots and stuff like that there. So that's what that brochure is all about. So if you're wanting to know what can I do at the health department, you're looking for this little guy over here. And I'm going to set these all on this table over here when I'm done going through those. So then secondly, is the WIC program specifically, and these so this covers again all of the Missoula County Health Department services, okay, under which WIC is under, okay, and women, infant, children, and any child in foster care. The thing that I really want you guys to know, if you don't know this already, is any child in foster care under the age of 5 qualifies for WIC. It doesn't matter your personal income, and this is because, as you probably are aware, children in foster care have high nutritional need. They have special nutritional needs. And so, as a community, we recognize that, and we recognize the benefit to the community to help children in foster care. So what is WIC? What is it like if you haven't, how many of you guys have experienced WIC? Okay, and has anybody not experienced WIC? Okay, so what an appointment is like, real briefly, you go in, tell me if this sounds right. So you get enrolled, and then you come in and you meet with your nutrition professional at WIC. You share nutrition concerns that you have with your child. They address those concerns. They can help you with any referrals having to do with that, from pediatric dentist to myself if you need further nutrition intervention in your home, to just anything that you can think of. So not only that, but if you have special concerns about your child that your nutrition professional can't help you, there's also an RD, even more qualified nutrition professional right there on staff, and that's free as well with it. And so you do get your benefits. You get $30 per child in farmers market coupons right at the moment. So that's just an added bonus that comes with Missoula WIC. So $30 in farmers market coupons for any child, as long as they're not an infant, so above 1 year old, I believe is what it is. And then you can also use your regular fruits and vegetables coupons at the farmers market in town too. So if you want to know more about WIC, you can pick up one of these. Sounds like most of you guys are hooked up, so that's good. And WIC is right upstairs from us. We're in the basement with new windows, thank goodness. But so again, I'm with the Maternal Child Health Program. And so under the Maternal Child Health Program, and that is the home visiting umbrella, we have several different programs. So real quickly, we have the Safe Care Program. And again, these are all optional programs that you can just call up and ask if you can get enrolled in them. Usually it just has to do with like the age of your child and stuff like that, whether or not you can get enrolled. So Safe Care is for parents with children 0 to 5 years old, and it consists of 3 modules of 6 sessions per module. So 18 modules. And it's taught in your home because that's the family's neutral environment. It lends itself to natural opportunities to train, okay? And the model is for parents, the first model is for parents with infants birth to 1 year old. It teaches skills, increasing positive interactions with infants, enhancing responsiveness to infants' needs and signals, and learning about infant development and planning age-appropriate activities, okay? And then the next module is for parents with children up to age 5, and that teaches to plan and organize daily and play activities, positively interact with children, enhancing your parent-child relationship, and preventing challenging childhood behaviors. And then the home safety model teaches parents to understand the importance of a safe home, knowing the types of hazards in the home. You guys have probably already learned all of that stuff, but if you need a brush up, knowing ways to remove household hazards, understanding the importance of supervision. And then there's a health module as well that teaches parents to keep children as healthy as possible, recognize when symptoms need emergency care, use health reference materials, and keep good health records. So that's Safe Care. That looks like that. I don't unfortunately have brochures for that, but if you're interested, I'll give you who you need to contact to get more information. And then we also have nurse-family partnership, and this probably won't apply to anyone here, or if it does, make it one. But you might know somebody that this might apply to, and so I just want to let you know that we have it. A Nurse Family Partnership is for first-time moms, pregnant moms. So you have to enroll while you're pregnant at less than 28 weeks, and it's for the care of mom and baby. Okay, and it just is for a lot of the enrollees are young moms, but not all of them. So if you know anybody like that could just use someone to lean on, they get a nurse visiting them weekly, and then after the baby's born as well. So those are those programs. Let me make sure we also have an asthma program, so if you have any kiddos that have asthma or that you suspect have asthma, we have a nurse that is just dedicated to the Montana Asthma Program, and she can come and help you with things in your home, food allergies, anything like that. Sometimes I get referrals from her with food allergies and stuff like that. So can help you make your home safe for a child with asthma and minimize symptoms. We do pregnancy, postpartum care, childbirth education, breastfeeding support, newborn care, care of infants and children, parenting education and support. That's something that I want you to know that we have. So besides these programs, we also just do case-by-case home visiting with myself, a dietitian. We have nurses, and we have social workers who can come, and they are the parenting experts, and they come just for parenting. A lot of the time, just if you have a kiddo that won't go to bed at night, or won't stay in bed at night, or doesn't sleep. Some of that is likely due to their previous circumstances, but at the same time, there are proven methods that some time can really help, and these ladies are really experts in that. So if you need anything like that, that's going to be the same call as all of these, which is the call to my supervisor, whose card I'm going to put over there. Let's see, Safe Care and the Montana Asthma Program. That about covers it. Basically anything that you need, if we can't get it, we can tell you where you can get it. We can help you figure out what resources you need. We're there for you. We're Missoula County. That's, if you paid taxes, you paid for our services. So, and we're here and we're there for everyone. So, please do not hesitate to give us a call. So to that end, Vicki Dundas is my supervisor, and I'm going to put her card. If you're not sure which program to contact or how to contact a specific program you want, you can call her. She can hook you up with any of this stuff. And then I'll put my card as well, which if you're interested in nutrition specifically, you can call me, but you can also call her, because I'll have to take a referral through her anyway. But if you just have a quick question, I can also just answer a question over the phone as well. So I'm just going to set these over here. Has anybody used any of these other services that I'm talking about, or know anybody that has? What did you use?
We came to your office. My little foster daughter and I
That's
came.
right.
Yes.
That's right. I remember.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was very helpful.
Good. Good. Okay. Nobody else has? Do you want to share?
I did the first time mom's home visiting program, like in 2004.
Okay. Okay. That was that Nurse Family Partnership?
I don't remember exactly what it was.
Okay.
I looked bad on paper.
Yeah, we don't.
I'm sure, because I had lost my job and
Oh.
I was pregnant, and I mean, lots of things looked bad on paper, but the reality wasn't that bad. But when I left the hospital, they made sure that they came to see me within like 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, we just I think see things in terms of, wow, this person looks like they might not have a lot of support, and that's what we're there to do. Or maybe you have support, but you don't have support in this one certain little area. So, so those are those services, and so where I fall is again in that home visiting, maternal child health, and so I don't have any specific programs. I just come to your house or talk to you on the phone and say what, we do an assessment together of what the problem is, and then use different resources that I have to help you kind of figure out a game plan and how to resolve that problem. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about kind of the general things that I see, things I see most often, and as well as I want to take your specific questions too and hopefully have somewhere to go with it. So just know that I'm new to this foster care thing. I've only been doing nutrition in foster care for about 1.5 years. So if you guys have things you want to tell me, feel free. If you think that I'm off base on something or you want to share a resource, please feel free. Any of that stuff, I'm all about learning, all about it, and it's really, like I said, it's becoming a passion. So I really want to know what you know, and if I don't have the answer to something you want to know from me, I will get the answer for you. What I want to start with is the fact that all feeding relationships start with a division of responsibility, and I'm talking about everything from any child, any parent, a brand new born baby. And how many of you guys have ever heard of the division of responsibility in feeding? Okay, a couple of you. And it's a buzzword that was developed by an author, blah, blah, blah. But what you need to know is that when there is a division of responsibility in feeding in children and parents, it is a beautiful thing. You no longer have to fight over food. You no longer have to fight at mealtime, at snack time, wonder if you're doing something wrong. Because where the division of responsibility is that the parent has a job and the child has a job in feeding. And it relies a lot on trusting each other to do each other's job. So the parents are responsible for the what and the when of feeding. And the child is responsible for how much they eat, including not eating at all or including eating too much. And we'll get to how that works. It does have special circumstances with special children. But that is the division of responsibility. Now, does that make sense so far? The reason that children are responsible for how much is because there's no way as an adult that we can calculate or know how much the child needs to eat. And by restricting a child in how much they eat or trying to get them to eat more than they want to eat, we sabotage that natural ability for the child to regulate his appetite. When a child comes into foster care, oftentimes they have already lost that ability due to food insecurity or other reasons. Even neglect can have an effect on how a child eats because eating is the first way that we learn to be comforted. And so if a child has learned to comfort themselves by eating, then that's how they've learned to get that emotional fulfillment. So that takes a little while to sort out and to realize. And so that takes a little bit of time and patience. But it's based on trust. Like I said, it's based on trusting the child that they do know or they will know in time how much they need to eat and when they need to stop. And that it's based on that. And so it's based on that trust model. And all families have a way of eating or preconceived notions about eating that you kind of need to take a look at too. Like, what are my biases about eating? What do I feel strongly about and why? And is it really important? Like, clean the plate club. You must eat everything on your plate. Well, is that something that's necessary for the child, or is it something that? And so it's just about examining those preconceived notions, like a child must eat a vegetable before they can have dessert or something like that. If that's something that you come to the table with, so to speak, then that's something to look at and examine and say, well, what is actually necessary and what is actually best for the child. And so I'm not going to get too far into like what to do in each specific case, but what I'm going to do is give you some good resources for finding out that stuff. And then I'm also going to give you some good examples. So So the next thing I want to do is read you some of those examples that I was talking about. And this comes from the Ellen Satter Institute website, and I'm going to give you a whole list of resources here that you can explore on your own, and a couple of examples of some books that you can read. I heard somebody say, I don't think I can read any more books. So I can totally understand that. All of these books also have websites and Facebook pages where you can just kind of check in real fast and get some information and leave. You don't necessarily have to read a whole book or buy a whole book if that's not your goal or your intention. But I do want to read you some examples, and you guys can tell me if these sound a little bit like you, and then we'll also get into some questions that you guys have. So here's one example. It's called Annie is So Hungry. Annie, a 2-year-old orphan from Haiti, eats like a starving person, gobbling her food, cleaning every crumb off her plate, insisting on more and more food, and crying when she's removed from the table. Sometimes Annie eats so much she throws up. Annie is always on the lookout for food and panhandles when her mother's in the kitchen. Her parents follow a division of responsibility in feeding and have given her lots of food at structured times, which is part of this whole thing. But they encourage her to slow down. She seems to understand and tries to cooperate. Annie has known hunger and is terrified that she won't get enough to eat. Her terror takes the form of embedded nonverbal memory. She needs to know in her very being that she will get enough to eat, and that will take months and months of absolute reliable, every 2 to 3 hour feeding. These parents understand Annie's dilemma, but their alarm about her food gobbling and occasional vomiting has led them to try to slow her down. To Annie, this feels like food deprivation. Instead, Annie needs lots of reassurance. We are finished now, but there will be another meal or snack soon, and you can have as much as you want then. When she begs for food in between times, it will soon be time to eat, and then you can have as much as you want. Annie will recover from her terror. She will begin eating at a more moderate pace, and she will learn to detect her fullness cues so that she doesn't overshoot and throw up. Until then, her parents can show her how to throw up without a mess. Annie's parents also need to avoid. How's your comfort level on that one? Mine's not good. Annie's parents also need to avoid doing anything that seems like food restriction, such as encouraging her to slow down. While structure may seem like food restriction, it isn't, and it's important for another reason. Letting a child graze for food puts her in charge of feeding herself. Instead, she deserves to learn to depend on her parents to take care of her. Okay? How's that one resonate? All right. David acts like a little dad. 6-year-old David and 3-year-old Sean are new to foster care. Sean is David's shadow, particularly when it comes to food. Sean begs David constantly for food and will only eat when David is there. Then he gets a great deal. Then he eats a great deal. Growing out of their neglectful home environment, David has become Sean's parent. The task is to relieve David of that job by becoming nurturing parents to both of them. Have meals and snacks at regular times. Make sure there's plenty of food at those times. Be sure David has his own plate that he doesn't share with Sean. Give lots of reassurance and be nurturing and non-interfering presence at both meals and snack time. So that's a lot to do. Draw the boys' attention to the leftovers at the end of the meal and show them that there's plenty of food in the cupboard. Talk with David in front of Sean and say, "It's all right, David. You don't have to worry about feeding yourself and Sean. I will take care of that." Be firm with David about this. While feeding his little brother is a too big burden for David, he won't give it up readily. It makes him feel important and has given him a measure of security. Letting David be a child with food is tremendously important. Feeding is the most powerful way of reaching a child who has given up on being nurtured. Feeding is the most powerful way of reaching a child who has given up on being nurtured. Because, again, it was the first experience with being nurtured, comforted, okay? Okay, the last one is Kai Ho. Kai Ho knew how much to eat. 3-month-old Kai Ho, adopted from China, weighed at the 5th percentile. The pediatrician assumed she was undernourished and said, "Do whatever you have to do to get food into her." So Kai Ho's adopted mother force-fed her. She concentrated her formula and repeatedly put the nipple in her mouth until she ate the amount the pediatrician prescribed. She started solids early and did the same thing with the spoon. She held the spoon in front of Kai Ho's mouth until she gave in and ate. By age 7 months, Kai Ho's weight was up to the 75th percentile. The pediatrician assumed he knew more than Kai Ho did about how much she needed to eat and how much she needed to grow, and encouraged her parents to get her to eat more than she readily accepted. It would have been better to follow her feeding cues and see what happened. If Kai Ho were truly undernourished, she would have eaten more and grown faster. In other words, she would have naturally gravitated towards a higher percentile. His advice was tragic for both the parents and the children. Attachment powerfully takes place around feeding. To feel loved and loved back, Kai Ho needed her parents to go along with what she wanted and needed with feeding. I guess there was one more. Alexi learned to connect. 2-year-old Alexi was adopted from an institutional setting in Russia. He was 5% for weight and 50th percent for height, which makes a pretty skinny kid. Alexi arrived with a bottle with a cross-cut nipple to allow fluid and perhaps solids to come through rapidly. Alexi was anemic and wouldn't look at his parents. Going by what he was able to do, Alexi's adoptive parents held him close to feed him formula by bottle, cuddled and talked gently, and gazed at him while they fed. Alexi began gazing back, at first briefly, then longer. At family mealtimes, they offered him pureed and mashed table foods by spoon and formula from the cup. He gradually began feeding himself soft finger foods and over several months lost interest in the bottle. Alexi's hematocrit improved, and after a year, they phased out the formula. Making eye contact with feeding or play supports attachment, but don't force eye contact. Let it happen. Look at your baby and let him look away. He looks away to calm himself. When he's ready, he will look back. Continue looking so you are available when he looks back. For more adoptive and foster stories, see Feed Me, Love Me by Catch a Rowell. And I read that because Feed Me, Love Me is a book that's on here that I'm going to pass out to you guys.
Now we're gonna have to get it.
Huh?
Now we're gonna have to
I
go
know.
get it.
So there's 4 books on here, and 3 of them are by Ellen Satter, and she's an author who writes in general. This actually came from what I just read came from her website. She writes in general about the feeding relationship and the division of responsibility, whereas and she's new to me, so I apologize. Katja Rowell she's an MD, and she writes about specifically the challenges with foster care and adoption and all of the trauma and feeding issues that come along with that. So really, really good resource, as well as some websites and things that I have on here. So now I would love it if you guys would either share reaction to this, or if you have specific questions, or I have some common ones prepared if you don't share, but I'd love to hear your stories, your nutrition stories, or questions.
We had a friend that had a foster child come in that was starved, and she often found food stuck in between his mattress, and a lot of times moldy. And it was suggested to her to make a shelf to where he could actually see the food all the time, to where while he was playing even, he could have the assurance that there was food for him. And so she did. I went to her house, and she had a shelf about this high, and she had a shelf full of like different healthy snacks.
And was that in her kitchen, or was it, okay.
Well, beside her kitchen, but yeah, and it soon, after a while, it took some time, but after a while, changed, and the hoarding went away, and because he had the assurance that there was food for him.
That's great, thank you. And did, was the food just all his then on that shelf?
No, it was for all the family.
It was for all the family, but it was
But
just for him
mainly
to
focused for,
visually?
yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. I've heard of that done a few different ways, where some moms will have it be just, or some parents will have it just be their food, and then this is all, you know, and not that they can eat it anytime they want, because
Right.
that's another thing that we kind of talk about, but that they can come and look at it anytime they want, and when a meal or a snack is served, then they'll serve something from that. But again, the parents decide what, so the child doesn't have the big choice of everything that's in here, but they trust the parent to choose. That's
I guess a lot of it was the visual of just, you know, the knowledge that he could see that there was food there for him. So I guess that was the big issue that helped him change.
I knew an adult that went through a food insecure time in their life, and they were somebody close to me, and they always moved all the food in the refrigerator to the front. No matter how empty if there was a lot of food, then it was just packed, but if there wasn't a lot of food, then it was all moved to the front. And I was, why did you do that? And they explained that making it look like there was a lot of food in the refrigerator meant a lot to that person. So it has a big impact, that's for sure.
With the,
Yeah, I actually have a child that has disorder, and she's a lot. But and she's actually gotten really good about it now. And the way I've dealt with it was, instead of the 3 main dinners, I take a paper plate, a big paper plate, put a small paper plate in it, and then I put small portions in it. And we eat like 4 times, 5 times a day. But it's not like piled on, you know, and that seems to help a lot, is because she looks at it and it looks a lot, you know, so that's why I use the big plate for plate, the small paper plate inside of it.
Yeah.
And it just makes it look like she has a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then she also knows now that after a certain time, unless we come here, she knows the next serving is in the morning when we get up. So not all, I make sure that she feels comfortable when she goes to bed instead of feeling full when she goes to bed. She sleeps so much better now too.
Great, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I mean, exactly that is that the most important thing is that when the child knows, in generally speaking, for a child who hoards food or hides it in their mattress or pockets in their mouth or overeats, when they can trust that they will get enough food, then they will stop. And so that's the long and short of it. When they can trust they can get enough food. So, like you said, the last thing that you want to do is say, you can't, this is all you get, or this is the right amount for you, because that feels like a form of restriction. So yeah, so just letting them know that there's lots and lots of food that they can eat.
I know a little girl that she was severely abused by her father, and she was one of those that would eat until she threw up because he wouldn't always feed her and her 2 siblings. And out of all 3 of them, she's the only one that really did that. But it took her about a year in foster care to actually come out of that. And still to this day, they still kind of got to watch the amount she eats during the day.
Yeah, I mean, and it leaves a lifelong scar. I mean, it leaves a lifelong scar. The best thing that you can do is support it. Just know that you can't magically end it, but you can support it in the best way, and then realize that it's then up to the child how long it's going to take. And and I can help you. If you have questions, if you question yourself, that's just natural about whether or not you're, if you need an objective opinion about whether, you're doing all the things that you can. And again, it's just, it's really subjective is what it is, but I could say, well, this is something another family has tried and that worked well, or this is what this book said, and you could try this. And it isn't one size fits all. There are a few things that are kind of universal, but there's definitely ways to make that work for your family.
Another thing that I do, and that's when we eat, we go for long walks, and believe it or not, when you exercise after eating, you feel really full, even if you don't eat very
You
much.
realize how full.
So it brings that into the child where, oh man, and they exercise helps tremendously too with that.
I find it very interesting how there's so many ways that these kiddos can react to not being able to eat. When we got our now 3-year-old, we knew immediately there was going to be food issues. We figured out very quick you couldn't leave anything sitting out after a meal, like chips, because she would have it gone. She just would continually eat. We also discovered very quickly that she would take one bite and swallow. Didn't matter if it was a great big piece of pizza, whatever it was, one bite and swallowed it. So we slowly worked with her on chewing and slowly worked with her on portions. And man, within 6-7 months, we thought, man, we're doing awesome. Well, visits started up, and we started seeing some things regress. And so we were watching. Well, Easter, she was with a sitter. They went to the sitter's relative's house. She cleaned out 2 large Easter baskets of chocolate, and nobody saw her. And a full meal, and never got sick.
Never got sick.
And for 2 days after that, she was mean. Mean. But the sitter never saw her in it. All the wrappers were in there. Sitter never saw her get in those baskets.
And on a lighthearted note, it is kind of amazing what a child can put down and not get sick, and even
Or
not
not
even
get
seem
caught.
to affect them. And maybe it made her mean, or maybe she was mean because of the new visits starting up. Who knows? But I mean, I can tell you just from my own kids what they can put away, and then I'm thinking, oh, there's going to be vomit. There's going to be at least a hyper, child, and I have one who does and one who can. He says, I'm an elf. I can eat as much sugar, and it doesn't matter. And truly, I think.
When you talk about the division of responsibility and the sweets and desserts, how does that fit in?
How does that fit in? That's a good question. So Ellen Sauter is the guru that started this whole thing, and she has a lot of information about forbidden foods, quote, on her website, and how to use them. But basically, they have an unfair advantage. So when you, for example, you wouldn't set, so with a division of responsibility, normally you would set, ideally it would be family style. We know that doesn't always work, but let's say you got your chicken and your mashed potatoes and your green beans and I don't know, corn. Okay, so then you got that all set out, and then everybody takes what they want, and then they eat till they're full, and that's great. And then what about the chocolate cake? So do you just set that on the table and they just get as much of that as they want to? And so the answer is no and yes, because if it's at a meal, it has an unfair advantage over the other things at the meal. So and again, this is the way she advocates to do it, and others who follow her way of thinking. So you set it at the table, and each person gets one portion of that particular food, and you say, well, that kind of violates the whole thing, right? But then, if your child is wild about that food, then you can also use snacks to sort of desensitize that behavior to where you de-elevate certain foods. So if a child is really nuts over every time you have candy, they just devour the whole bag. Then you can use candy at snack time, and then at that time they can eat as much as they want. And then you still have, 2 hours until the meal, and they might not be hungry for one meal, and that's okay. But it doesn't interfere the way it does if you set it down at the meal. And you can do like, let's say you have a bowl of chocolate candy, and you could do a bowl of chocolate candy and a glass of milk. And you can actually make it somewhat well-rounded by doing that. You've got a lot of junk food there, but that's okay because children can really actually eat a certain amount of junk food. Coming from a dietitian, I can tell you that they can actually eat quite a bit of junk food and still be nutritionally okay. Okay, so if you use one snack per day, those lights are warm, sorry. If you use one snack per day and it was junk food every time, your kiddo could still be fine. Okay, so some of us actually probably need to loosen up some of our ideas, at least for a while, about what is and isn't okay. Because if a food is new and it's elevated, you're not going to help this situation by always restricting it to one every time, and they never get to see what it's like to eat too much of that food. And by the way, eating too much of a food is just normal. That's just human nature. And a child is particularly good at making up for that in the long term. So you might find the next day or 2 days later they eat less. Now with a child new to your home, that might not happen, but just in general, children are really good at regulating that from day to day.
Except for the FICA.
Well, yes.
I've not figured out a way to control it yet.
Yes.
And then now the other ones follow in suit. Well, why, if he can have it and he steals ours, why can't we have one?
And I just remembered exactly where I know you. Yes, I remember. So, yeah, I mean, there are exceptions, and that's when you want to call me. If you're like, I've tried all these things and they're not working, then you need to call me, and I'll probably call the MD, and we'll work out something else in some other loving way where the child can still feel like they have control. But if there are special circumstances, they're all special circumstances, but most of them can be resolved in a certain way, but there's always exceptions. There are always exceptions.
With the pocketing, how do you manage that?
Check them out.
Even after that. I mean, with the pica, you're constantly with them 24/7, you're constantly checking it. And then they fall asleep and they still manage to pick up something in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm. And the answer is, I don't exactly know. I don't know. I don't know what you do there.
But it's like nothing else, but it's just straight food.
Yeah. But with the pica, they're eating, and he's eating all kinds of weird things and stuff. And if you guys are familiar with that, so it's a disordered eating pattern where they will eat things like dryer lint and sand, rocks. And not just but they're seeking it out, and not like, ooh, what's this taste like? But like they really actually eat it. So if you see that, that is something to alert your healthcare provider about.
I did have a quick question. Okay, so I have a daughter, she's been adopted now for about 5 years, and we have to be very careful to use super small plates because she gets so overwhelmed by food.
Mm-hmm.
She's just recently gotten braces and metal and all that good stuff in her mouth, and is unable to eat, I guess, until she's truly done, and gets extremely upset when she's full before she's actually been able to finish like even a normal sized portion. Any suggestions other than cutting stuff down?
So she, the presence of food is upsetting, too much food is upsetting?
Not really too much food, but like more the size of the plate. Like
Okay.
if all of her food is on a regular sized plate, it's too much for her, it's overwhelming her, and she'll just stop eating. She just shuts down.
Okay. So she needs like little bits.
Right.
And
And that's what we do, but even the little bits, now that she has braces and retainers and everything, she's filling up so fast. Like, she gets very emotional when she can only take 2 bites of each food or something. So I
She's
don't.
how old?
She's 9.
She's 9.
Yeah. So.
Can she drink her nutrition?
Yeah.
Does that help at all, because then you're supplementing?
She could. I guess she's more upset by the fact that she can't enjoy as much of the foods as she would like.
Because of the braces, she's not enjoying it?
I think so.
And
yeah.
is she
Because she's eating a lot slower, so she's getting full way faster.
Okay.
And everyone else is still eating, and it really upsets her.
My granddaughter's going through that too,
Is she?
and she's 16.
She's
Okay.
upset that she's full.
She's upset that she's
She
full.
wants to eat more, but she's full.
Yeah.
And how's her growth?
It's fine. This has just been in the past probably 6 months. All the fun braces and everything
Yeah.
are making it.
Yeah.
And the reason she has braces is because her overbite was so bad, like she couldn't even close her mouth all the way. So
Does she have any body image issues that you know of?
not that I know of.
Okay. So, I mean, a couple things that have worked for some families.
Okay.
Does she dish up her own food, or do you put it on her plate?
Sometimes
Okay.
it depends.
And does she like the idea of dishing up her own food? Most kids do, but
I think she does. I think she often dishes too much, and then again is upset
okay, that she can eat.
Yeah.
And then what do you guys say? Like, is it okay for her to not eat it all in your house?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
Regardless of what my grandmother and my father say, yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
And no, they don't live with us. It just happens sometimes. I have to guard her very well when they're eating with us. So.
Do you think that her appetite is just smaller? I mean, kids go through. If there's no change in growth, there's no physical concern. So then my concern is that. But it makes me a little worried that she's so emotional about it.
And I guess it's most of the time, like when we're having something she really loves, or when we go out to eat. And like if we go to China buffet or something, I have to be very careful how much she gets, and she does serve it herself. But I mean, we have to remind, and that really frustrates her. So I don't know. We're
Kind of reminds me of, like, do you guys ever go out to dinner and then you kind of overshoot it and you order like dinner, and then you're halfway through and you're like, we're gonna get that dessert, and then you get the dessert and the dessert comes and you're actually not hungry for it, and so do you ever feel that and you feel like a little bit disappointed that you're not? So imagining that, and is there food insecurity in her past?
yeah.
And so I'm imagining that, you know how when you're really hungry and then being able to eat a big meal can be really fulfilling and pleasurable to, like, wow, I was really hungry and I ate that and now I feel great. And so if her appetite has just kind of shrunk, she might be just disappointed that, she's not,
right.
she can't enjoy as much of the food.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if maybe if it's a favorite, have you tried just saving it and encouraging her that, well, you can eat this
We
tomorrow
have,
or
and-
for your next snack? Or,
Yeah, and that does help some. And we've been doing, like if we go out, I usually require that they eat some sort of vegetable, but she only has to have like a couple bites before she has what she truly wants. And sometimes she really wants the vegetable, so it's not a big deal. But sometimes it just is not. I mean, she's always had a ton of eating problems with her amounts of things.
Yeah.
So I mean, since she was 2. So I don't know.
Yeah, sounds like you're kind of at a frustrating, confusing place.
We are, and the fact that she's so oppositional and so upset to see people, or to allow people to see her upset. I'm sure it's like a core shame type thing. So yeah. So I don't know, we're trying to work on it. I just was wondering if you had any suggestions.
Only thing I could say is just keep trusting her that she knows
Right.
how much of each thing to eat.
Right.
You know, and that, and let her know that it's
Right.
okay.
Oh, we do.
like,
Yeah.
It's okay that you're not hungry, and it's okay that you can hear that.
Yeah.
And that's actually really good that she can hear her body be full.
Yeah.
If she's not if she's not losing weight, she's not losing ground, then she's just listening to her
Right.
body, and that's really
Yeah.
great.
Well, and I guess maybe initially she was losing weight a little, but she's always been a little bit, I mean, she's not super thin like her sisters are. So, I don't know, she was just at the doctor recently and they didn't see cause for concern, so yeah, it hasn't been tons, but.
One of the things that I do is I evaluate growth. So if the first thing that I do is I look at the pattern of growth on the growth chart, and if your child is following a predictable pattern of growth, then that's almost always a sign that the other things are going okay. But if a child is not following a predictable growth curve, so they're shooting from one, it's okay to go slowly, but if they're shooting from one growth percentile to another, you know what I'm talking about on the growth curves, okay? If they're just shooting up or shooting down, then that is a cause for concern. Not always, but it's something for me to look at. And so if you're not sure, you can ask me, or most people, you guys are probably the exceptions, but most people don't really even know how to look at a growth chart and like know what it's supposed to look like. And so if you're even ahead of that, but you just want a second opinion, I'm happy to just, plot them and kind of go over it with you. So, all right. Somebody, did you have questions?
Oh, I just was gonna suggest sensory stuff, but you probably have already rooted all that out and looked at.
Well, we probably
things
haven't
like that.
ruled it out, it
Okay.
just, yeah, there's all sorts of stuff there. But it's not based around, for her, it's not usually based around food.
I
So-
thought with the extra stuff, extra metal in her mouth, I think that's gonna change like her, if she's more orally depressive or not.
Maybe,
Does she have stoppers for her overbite?
she has like a thing that's like spring loaded on the top, yeah.
Which
She
is
doesn't have
stopper.
like the spike things, if that's what you're talking about.
Well, it's a
Um,
stopper that they put in the back here so they don't bite down into overbite.
Okay.
To break into the braces. That will make her depressed alone right there with food.
Okay.
With the springs, the springs as well.
That's a really good
Okay.
point.
My
Actually,
granddaughter's going through it right now,
Well,
and
and
she
she
was
doesn't-
starved, so.
She doesn't have the springs that are there. They're just, they go back and the little things press out the back part of her teeth. But she definitely, I mean, like, she's always been able to roll her R's and stuff, and she can't do that now, and that's upsetting. But that really makes her mad that she can't do that anymore. So,
she speaks Spanish or?
no,
She'll be able to do
she
it
just
again.
has always been able to roll her R's, and it's a one-up on her sisters, because she can't do it. And-
Gotcha.
Or they can't do it. Now she can, so.
That is a really good point that I didn't say at the get-go is too is just depression
Right.
around food that comes with just having something wrong
Yeah.
with your mouth. I mean, if you've ever had a tooth that you couldn't get worked on right away, or
Mhm.
just massive things in your mouth, it really does make it makes. Food is a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal to everyone. Eating is a big deal, and then when you can't eat the way that you want to, it's depressing, and it's no different for kids.
Well, it scares the kids
I
when
know
they
it's
can't eat as much as
7:37.
they
I'm
want.
happy to answer questions, but I don't know how if you have the.
Will you be able to stay for a few minutes? Because I love the questions that are happening. So why don't I wrap things up for those who have to go? We'll do the door prices.